Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to Could Try Harder, part 2 of the pulley and accessory belt replacement on this, our BMW M3 that we've just come back from Europe in. So, time has passed by. We now have the parts that we need in order to do the job. So it didn't all come from there. But we got from a selection of places. I have chosen not to buy all of the parts from BMW because BMW wants to sell you lots of bits of metal like this, which do not wear out. And so therefore, rather than spending £200 or £300 on a part like that, I'll buy a pulley. And that pulley will have the exact same thing on it. Actually, that one is for that one over there. Same part. Only difference being this one's got a thing on the back that I need to get rid of. So there's a bit of work to do to prepare these pulleys ready for fitment to the mounting brackets. What I don't know, you call them mounting brackets? What would you call them? Lumps of aluminium. And so without further ado, let's crack on with that. I'll move you over to the GoPro. You can see what we're up to. Okay, so got a little bit of lost footage here, unfortunately. It didn't record on the GoPro. And that is of me fitting the sub-assemblies together for the pulleys that I have managed to buy. And there was one pulley that I couldn't buy. And that one I pulled off the dust shield, cleaned out the original grease and repacked it with grease, put the dust shields back in. And it now pretty much feels like a bought one. So next job will be to replace the belts. Here's one of the belts I managed to buy. Let's get it fitted. Seems okay. Voice over me again. The reason I've chosen to voice this over is that I must have spent the best part of an hour to 2 hours trying to figure out how to get this belt on. It was a complete nightmare, and so I've decided to give you a bit of time lapse to show you exactly what went on, and I'll explain over the top. So essentially, I was trying to get the belt on. The belt seemed initially way too long. Then I realised actually I'd taken the water pump pulley off. So of course that needs to go back on. In order to put the water pump pulley back on, you then need to take off the idler pulley, which I'd already put back on, of course, because it got a new one. And after that, you can then put the water pump back on, water pump pulley back on, and then put the idler pulley back on. So I thought, yep, okay, that's all well and good. That's sorted. We'll get this done. And so the way you put the belt back on, of course, is a tensioner here. So you can see I've wrapped the belt around the alternator there, and I'm trying to get the belt over the tensioner whilst at the same time pushing the tensioner against the pulley. Well, that was the bit that I spent the most time on. Essentially, that is impossible to do with a ratchet. And the reason it's impossible to do with a ratchet is these pipes that you can see there, those metal pipes that I'm currently pointing to. The ratchet will push the pulley so far in, but then it hits against a pipe, and there's nothing you can do. Those pipes are absolutely rigid. If you were to take them off, you'd have to drain all sorts of stuff out of there. I think they're coolant pipes. Somebody in the comments will correct me if I'm wrong. But it's essentially, after a long period of time, the only way that I could achieve this was by getting a spanner, just a normal spanner onto the bolt for the damper pulley, and then getting another spanner on the end of that spanner in order to increase the leverage, in order to be able to get sufficient movement in the damper to slip the pulley over the, slip the belt over the pulley. Also, The best way to do this is by putting the belt around the damper initially, and then putting like your final loop across the final pulley is the one for the alternator there on the right, as I'm pointing to now. So just to recap then, 2 spanners connected together to get extra leverage. If you've got a long 14mm spanner, all power to you, one of those aerospace spanners. I didn't. I tried every combination of ratchet and everything that I own, and the only thing that would work with the spanners. So here's me now talking about getting the water pump pulley back on rather, and that idler pulley there that I'm pointing to, that has to be pretty much the last thing that goes on. It's on the left hand side belt, so it's on the power steering belt. I put it on, took it off, put it on, took it off, put it on, took it off, because essentially you can't get the left hand belt through the gap without taking that idler pulley off first. So you need to take the idler pulley off, or leave it off, put the belt up through the gap, and then put the idler pulley through it in order to get that fitted. So 2 hours later, lots and lots of swearing, throwing spanners around and getting really very upset, and it's all back together again. We'll be putting the fan, which is over there, into the hole which is down here, and once we've done that, we are about ready to go. So what I can do in the meantime is pop my cap on. Is that the one? Yep, that goes on there. And then there'll be one more cap somewhere else. Where the hell I've put that? This one. I have these the wrong way around. Ah, there you go. So there you go. Idler pulley caps both on. So that is it. Pulleys are done. In conclusion, is it worth it? I think that from a cost point of view, it's absolutely worth it if you put the time and effort into finding out what all of the relevant pulleys are instead of buying all those assemblies from BMW. It's absolutely worth it. In terms of time, hassle and stress, I'm not so sure. That is an absolute cow of a job from the point of view getting out, all the way from getting the fan out in the first place, getting the belt back on is the thing, and then putting the fan back in. It's just horrible job. It takes hours and hours. You need to be really careful you don't snap bits and pieces of plastic off on the thing. So only you can decide for yourself. Would I do it again? I'm not sure I would. I think I'd probably save the money up and get one of the BMW specialists to do the work. That said, it's probably going to cost you maybe in the region of £1,000, something like that, with parts and labour. Time, as always, is money. So it just remains for me to say, if you have made it all the way to the end, thank you again for watching. Not sure what will be next on the channel. We do have a road trip coming up. Not been great at videoing those in the past. We'll see how that goes. But if you have been, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.